Next month we have a um a Star Wars game that's supposed to be coming out, and this game is supposed to be a remake of an old game that came out back in '95, Star Wars Dark Forces, a game that a lot of people I don't think like the casual audience is too familiar with this game because at best it was an average game, and there were definitely better titles that came out, or better Star Wars titles that came out during the '90s. But Star Wars Dark Forces is one of those titles that I think it was mainly like a PC exclusive. It may have been on PlayStation or something like that, but it was a first person shooter game that at the time it didn't seem like much of a big deal, but looking back at it years later, like about almost 3 decades later, it was ahead of its time because it was a first person shooter that came out in the mid 90s, and that's something that wasn't that common, in relation to that genre. The first person shooter genre didn't pick up in terms of popularity until like the 2000s decade. And I feel like if this game was remastered and re-released like during the Xbox or Xbox 360 era of the 2000s, it probably would have been more popular than it was. But but yeah, this game is being remastered, and I do know for a fact it's going to be on PC. I'm not sure if it's going to be on any other game systems or anything like that. But this game is not even like one of the better like first person shooter games that we got in Star Wars. Like in relation to the '90s, like this game actually had a sequel. It was Star Wars Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2, and I heard that one was actually much better than um than the Dark Forces game. And the thing is, like if they're going to remaster this, I know for a fact that the second version of the game is going to be remastered. And I believe like for the original, Lucas Arts was a developer and also the publisher. And in this remastered version of the game, it's going to be published by Night Dive Studios, and it's going to be developed by Lucas Arts and Night Dive Studios. So it's going to be co-developed by two different gaming companies. And um and honestly, Star Wars Dark Forces, I feel like is a game that it's going to keep the series alive, at least within the realm of video games in relation to 2024, because um, we all know that at some point the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake was supposed to be coming out like either last year or this year, and I don't even know like where it stands in terms of development, because I remember making a video about this about a year ago, and yeah, it was supposed to be coming out like in the future, but I've been hearing different things, different reports about it. Some people say it's dead. Some people say that's not dead and it's in developmental hell. I don't know what the deal is. Hopefully, we'll learn more about that as the year goes on. But but yeah, I do feel that Star Wars Dark Forces is probably an underrated classic in hindsight. I'm not saying it was the best Star Wars game like ever made, and it's probably far from being the best, but I think it's a nice little like novelty title that some people, especially hardcore fans of the Star Wars series, are going to enjoy for the PC. And the thing that kind of sucks about it is that it's a single player only game. There's no multiplayer gameplay. And in order to make first person shooters work nowadays, like most of them have to be like multiplayer. It has to have a compelling story and all that stuff. The story for this game is kind of just like whatever. Um, yeah, I believe in this game you control the main protagonist. His name is like Kyle Kattern or whatever. Basically he has to take down the evil empire, and I guess like he's a member of the Rebel Alliance covert operations division, and pretty much that's like the whole purpose of the game is just you going through various levels. And I heard like the original game was really challenging when it first came out, and I think that ended up being one of the negatives about the game. And hopefully that's something that's fixed in this particular installment, along with the graphical improvements and the gameplay improvements and all that stuff. But But yeah, like video games back in the day were a lot harder than they are now. And they were meant to be that way for a reason because that was kind of like the whole that was kind of like part of the fun, and all that stuff was it being challenging, and you doing it whatever you can to make it past certain parts of the game and all that stuff. And I'm not exactly sure whether or not you were able to save your progress on on Macs or PCs back in the day, because I was really young back in 95, so I really wouldn't remember. But yeah, Star Wars Dark Forces is supposed to be coming out this upcoming month in February on the 28th. And a lot of people are looking forward for when this game releases.